Hey everyone, it's Michael GoosebumpsFan. I hope you're doing well today. I have the ranking video for worst to best on the TV books from Goosebumps Presents series back in the day. Of course, basically these are all novelizations of the individual TV episodes they're based on. They are not the original books from R.L. Stine with new covers. They have new writers, Megan Stein and Carol Ellis, to do a lot of these. There's some other writers in here as well. They come with colorized photos, like 8 pages every single book. A lot of those spoil the actual book, and there's like few that don't. They're usually like the dead middle of the book too. I've complained about that over and over again because kids aren't going to know. Kids are going to jump into these books and have the ending ruined for them because of those colorized photo situations that have words attached to them and everything. But there are 18 of these TV books, these original old series books. Let me hold this one up for you. Cuckoo Clock of Doom is a good one. A lot of these for me, if you saw my individual reviews over the last 4 years of me talking about these books, it seems to me that quite a few of them, if not most of them, are very consistent, just like the original TV show. The original TV show, I think I rated a lot of episodes like a 3 out of 5 stars, right? And a lot of these books are like that for me too. So this is a little bit of a tighter ranking and a little bit of a more difficult ranking because a lot of the time I wasn't impressed with these books, but I had a decent time for what they were, or they were fine, or they were okay, or very, very average, or very, very decent. That's kind of the problem and the caveat of this video, because it's going to be very easy for the people who have read all of these, which are very far and few between. Not many of you have, I think, because they're kind of getting harder and harder to come by unless it's the early 2 or 3. These books are not super impressive. If you're a big collector, you probably picked them up like I did. But really, in hindsight, even as a massive collector, these are cool for the collection, these are cool for your own personal museum, but they're really not that great in my opinion. They don't have the flair, a lot of the time, not always, but a lot of the time they don't have the flair or the special feeling to them. Even though they all feel like they're written by R.L. Stine, every single writer that worked on this made it very clear that they wanted to mimic that. I assume that's a scholastic thing, that they basically told you had to do that. That's cool, whatever. But I like that part of it. I feel like it's just not always as good of a book as it could be. And it also kind of depends too, because these are novelizations of the episodes from back in the day. And if you love that, if you love each individual episode for these particular books, you might just want to pick up those particular things. You might really like those particular books because they're going to be just basically identical, aside from a few small sentences here and there that change or some cut scenes from the actual episodes themselves. You're really not going to have much of a difference on any of them. At maximum, they might be like 62 pages long. They're very short. They feel like short stories pretty much, typically. And the pacing is pretty tight on all of them, I think. Some of them can feel a little rushed. The ones at the very bottom kind of do. But most of them, no. Most of them are pretty consistent about everything in them. But they're all kind of, I hate to say this, but they all kind of are bland in that same way. There's very few that I found myself very engaged in, a lot of the time with R.L. Stine's regular Goosebumps series, whether it be the OG series, the newer ones like Most Wanted. I can typically feel myself just grabbed by the story and really engaged into that, really involved in it. But a lot of the time with the TV books, it's not the case. So I just wanted to give you all that stuff up front about why this is such a hard video to make, because these are not the greatest books ever, but they're really not the worst thing ever either. So, as I said, there's 18 of these. I'm going to go through the first of the 2 stacks that I have sitting over here. I'm trying to work everything around without spoiling it for you guys. Alright. My number 18 at the very bottom should be pretty obvious what it was. It's probably one of the worst episodes ever made. It's probably one of the worst books ever made. It's a puberty analogy and all kinds of stuff. My Hairiest Adventure. This one's horrible. It has a couple of moments that are okay. It's supposed to be like a body horror story, and it's really not that good. Don't really recommend that one. I thought for sure my number 17 pick here would be the one that would be at that bottom spot, but it wasn't. My number 17 pick is a book that I don't really love the original, I don't really love the episode, I'm not really crazy about this particular TV book either. Number 17 is Be Careful What You Wish For. God, you see what I mean with these covers? They're not that good. They're really not that good. When I do the ranking video the next day or so for the covers, that's going to be a hard one to really kind of initiate together too. I'm going to have to try to organize that tonight, probably, for upcoming days. It won't take too long. There's only 18 of these things, but still, that's rough. Number 16 on my list is Bad Hair Day. Of course, focused on magic tales and a magical magician story, whatever. This one's fine in a lot of ways. This is kind of where you get to that territory of everything just being fine or kind of bland or anything. That's what this one kind of is. It has its moments, I will give it that, but it's not one of my favorites. The next book on the list, number 15, is Return of the Mummy. I'm a big Mummy guy. Many of you guys know that. Years ago, back in the first year of this 4-year run my channel's been on as of February 28th, I was a big fan of Mummy stuff. I still am, of course, mainly with the Universal Monsters movies. And you can imagine what the Tom Cruise film did to me. God. Anyway, so I did a Mummy review marathon, and this is one of the weakest ones. This might have been the worst one on the list. I could be wrong, but it was pretty weak. And if you've seen the two-parter episode, I think it's a two-parter. No, I could be wrong. I think it's a single episode. If you've seen Return of the Mummy's episode, it's truly awful. I mean, it's truly horrible. It's just goofy, and it's silly, and it's laughable, and it's just horrible. At least the Mummy looks cool, though. I'll give it that. The next one here I'm not super in love with. Again, kind of a bland book. It's number 14. Yes, number 14 on my list. The Headless Ghost. Again, the covers, man. The color schemes are so cool on these fonts surrounding the photos, but it's the photos themselves that always suck for these books. It's going to be really hard to rank these, as I said. Pretty decent read. Has some moments as a ghost story type of thing. Not super special, though. I like the original book a lot better, I think. Alright, number 13. This is one that a lot of people love. A lot of you guys out there are going to be kind of surprised. This one's kind of low. This book is creepy, but I always felt, including with the original book, including with the episode that I've seen and read a billion times over, the ending twist is what kills this book for me. I will not spoil it for you, but if you haven't experienced it, I don't know what to tell you. It feels like a knockoff Twilight Zone ending, and I don't like it. But everything else leading up to it can typically be pretty good. I think this TV book is weaker compared to the original book. The original book has a lot more atmosphere and eeriness. This one has some to it, but it's nothing special. And it's kind of surprising to me, too, seeing a two-parter adapted into like a 60 or 70-page book. I think this one is... this one's right at 70, so I was wrong earlier. This one's just 10 pages longer. I don't know how they took a two-parter and turned it into this, but still. Anyway, my number 13 pick... I'm trying to make sure I got my numbers right. My eyes are getting worse and worse the older I get. My number 13 pick is Welcome to Camp Nightmare. A lot of people love this one. A lot of people love everything, every version of this story. I'm not one of them. Just, it has some great stuff, but the ending has always ruined that story for me. I won't tell it to you, but if you haven't experienced it, I would love to hear what you have to say down the road when you do. Alright, number 12 on my list. That is Monster Blood. This was entertaining. I liked it. It's one of the more bland Monster Blood books. It wasn't super special or anything, but I liked it. I liked it better more than Welcome to Camp Nightmare. It was pretty good. Pretty decent for what it was. Nothing super special either. It's kind of, to me, a better version of what the original book was for Monster Blood. Monster Blood was like book number 3, and I always felt when I reviewed it years ago, I felt like it was just too childish. It felt so basic and so simple compared to part 2, 3, and 4, and then you have like 5 and 6 now of Monster Blood books, and it never felt that great, the original book. But I think that TV book is better than the original one, just in my personal opinion. Number 11 on my list is The Girl Who Cried Monster. This one's a good read. I like it. A lot of eeriness, a lot of atmosphere that's really maintained in this book. Really enjoyable. Really enjoyed it. I recommend it. Pretty easy to get your hands onto. It's number 1, of the series. Number 10 on my list is one that I never really looked forward to reading the original book, and I read it, I think, in 2022. I think it's one of the last, 10 that I read of the OG 62 books. And this is a pretty good TV book. It's not as good as the original book, I think, but the episode was kind of fun. This is kind of fun. That number 10 pick is Calling All Creeps. It's okay. At least the monsters are on the cover, and not some random kid being scared in the 90s. What do you know? Alright, the first stack is almost over. This is number 9, Go Eat Worms. My wife is terrified of worms, as I've told you guys many times. I kind of want to trick her one day into reading this book, but the fact that the word worms is in the cover, and it'll never happen. This one's a goofy one, but I like it. I think it's a good episode for the most part. It has a little silliness to that, but I think this is pretty good. And in some ways, I think it's better than the book, the original book from Stein. But in other ways, I think the original book is better too, because of certain things like the baseball field. That's a pretty cool set piece for the story and for the ending. But overall, it's a good book. I liked it. Not bad. All right, wow, there's like a finish coming off this little table right here. That's pretty insulting. All right, moving along to my number 8 pick, and that is The Cuckoo Clock of Doom. Good read. Original book is a lot better, I think, and a little bit scarier, frankly. The episode is okay. This is really solid. I really enjoy it. Good one. Not a great cover, though, as you can tell. Number 7 on my list. One of my original favorites from the OG 62 books. Probably in my top 10 or so, top 15. I think it's my top 10, maybe even top 5 of the OG 62 classic series when I ranked all of those. I love the original cover. I love that original book's contents. I think it's a really cool urban legend style story that a lot of people hate. A lot of people hate the original book, and I'm really kind of surprised by how much hate it gets. The episode, I remember watching that to review after I read the original book. And the episode, I absolutely hated. It was so different in tone. It was a comedy. It had so many problems to me. It just doesn't work at all. And then here I am reviewing the TV book, or I guess ranking it now. And the TV book is, to me, a step above what the TV episode was. But it ain't great, but it's good for what this book is as an adaptation of that script for the TV show. Because the TV show makes it worse, with all the goofy music and just the silly nature of the kids and the acting and all of that. It feels like they really didn't care for that episode, in my opinion. And it really pissed me off because of how much I love the original book. That number 7 pick for me is You Can't Scare Me. The cover's cool for this book. I love the suit for the mud monsters in the actual episode itself. That's pretty cool. There's a lot of pictures of mud monsters in here. You could rip those pages out if you're a big fan like myself and hang them up as posters. That's pretty rad. I like that. But the book itself, it's nothing great, but it's fine and good for what it is. It's better than the episode itself actually watching it. So that's controversial probably, but that's my opinion. You Can't Scare Me's original book is great. I stand by that. My number 6 pick. This one might surprise a lot of you. With this particular monster, this villain that I love deeply. Have loved him, pretty much my favorite monster from Goosebumps, always, since I was a kid. My number 6 pick is Night of the Living Dummy 2. Great cover, because of Slappy being the big picture here, because he's great. I love Slappy. This book and this episode are so rushed. They feel so rushed. This a little bit less than the actual TV episode itself. The original book is really solid. I like it a lot. It's not one of my favorites of the dummy books. A lot of people love it and obsess over it, but I read it a lot as a kid. I think I read that and Dummy 1 a lot when I'd want to be in a Slappy mood and just didn't want to watch Dummy 3 on VHS from Hollywood Video. But I didn't love this book, but I liked it more than the episode. The episode, dude, for 20 minutes, it flies by. People constantly describe that episode as tightly paced. To me, it feels rushed. Every time I watch it, it feels like that. This book has a little bit of that momentum to it, too, from what I remember of it a long time ago when I read it. But I remember that being distinctly rushed feeling a lot of the time. Here we are, top 5, folks. Top 5. My number 5 pick is one that I actually just reviewed. It's the last TV book I had, and that was, one that I liked the episode. I love the original book a lot. The original book is way, way better than this, so I recommend that too. But my number 5 pick that I have for you here is Let's Get Invisible. Really good one. Really solid one. Really enjoyable. This is very close to like a 4 out of 5 star rating. Like I said, most of these I would give like a 3 out of 5. A big chunk of these TV books. But this is one that would be very close to a 4. It's not excellent, but it's really good for what it is in concept, how spooky this particular version can be. But the original book, like I said, is way scarier. Way scarier, dude. My number 4 pick. I can just kind of put my phone over to the side now, because I know 1, 2, 3, and 4, I can count these and actually see them and visualize them and count them. My number 4 pick is one that might be controversial to be as low as it is, but it's in my top 5, so give me a break. Out of 18 books, I think this is pretty good. This one's very fun, very funny. I love the TV episode. I love the book. I read the book and reviewed it a long time ago. I think I just had like a still image of the book and then my voice and voiceover. But anyway, number 4 is Attack of the Mutant. This is a really good one. I love it. I really enjoy it. I don't really know what else to say about it. It's really good. The original book's really good. Attack of the Mutants, very comic book focused, and I love that about it. It's a very silly story, but in the best possible way, and it really makes it enjoyable. You see the smile coming up, it's because of how fun this book is, and how fun the episode is, and how fun this book is. The memories with it, where I had to go through that story basically 3 times, because the episode is such a great adaptation of that original book. It's just great. I love it. I can't wait to eventually basically make some time to reread Attack of the Mutant at some point. I haven't read it since I made my video all those years ago. Again, like 4 years ago. So I can't wait to get back to that at some point and actually experience that story again. But I love the TV episode. Again, that particular episode really captures what the original book was, and I love that about it. Number 3 on my list. Me and Goosebumps Completionist talked about this recently at some of these TV books reviews. I've been trying to pile these out and get them done, because I'm getting sick of seeing the TV books sitting on my shelf. I wanted to get them done. Of course, I'm trying to read and finish everything that I have left for Goosebumps. I think at this point I'm down to like my last 12 books. I'm on one that I started today after I finished up Let's Get Invisible. So I'm hoping to have all of that ready to go and done. But anyway, one of the things I'm excited for is to have the TV books completely done, and now I am. So that's pretty exciting, but I've been eyeballing these forever. I wanted to get them done, and one of the most enjoyable ones that I really liked a lot, and Completionist and I agreed too, there was a lot of different takes in this book that were not in the actual episode or in the original book. I think the original book is my favorite still when it comes to this particular concept and story and the execution of it, because of course the TV episode and this TV book are a lot sillier than the original book, because the original book's actually kind of creepy in my opinion. That book, for number 3, is Revenge of the Lawn Gnomes. I love the TV episode. I think the design for these costumes for these guys are fantastic. I like this particular read, a really good book in general. But the original is much better, in my opinion. I think it has a lot more going for it. I think, again, the atmosphere of the original book with the idea of like living objects, really spooky, very well done, in a lot of good ways. The final two books. Number 2 on my list is one that I enjoy a lot. A lot of people hate it. A lot of people hate the original book. A lot of people hate the episode. Even JonTron made fun of it. My number 2 pick is one that I enjoy a lot. It's kind of an urban legend feel, once again. That is Ghost Beach. Really bland cover for a book that should not have had this cover because of how many cool things were in the episode itself. One particular image was fantastic. It might be a spoiler, but it would have been a better cover than this. Ghost Beach is spooky. It has a great atmosphere. I love the TV episode, I think more than this. But this is good. This is really solid for what it is. I like it a lot. Ghost Beach is one of those stories I think are very underrated for all the worst reasons. Kind of like You Can't Scare Me. I think people hate it unfairly, in my personal opinion. My final pick, my number 1 pick that I think is easily the best TV book. I think the atmosphere is here. I think the holiday that it celebrates is here. I think the design for the monsters are really well done for the episode. I think the original book is phenomenal too, but this is a better summary story, in my opinion, compared to the original book. This is probably my highest rated of all the TV books, if I'm thinking correctly off the top of my head. That number 1 pick for me is Attack of the Jack-o'-lanterns, one of the most rare TV books to find. I saw somebody on one of the Goosebumps Facebook pages have a hardcover copy of this TV book, and I couldn't believe they managed to find that. I can't even imagine what that could be worth. My copy was like the last book I had to find for the series back a couple of years ago. And the amount of money I had to pay for this book was not very nice. It hurt. It hurt a lot. This is probably the most expensive book I ever bought in my entire life. Of all the books I own, all the Richard Lehman books I own and stuff, I have some rarities of his stuff in my collection. This is probably the most expensive book I ever bought. It's not like outrageously expensive, but for something so rare for a Goosebumps book, if you've seen the prices for this, I didn't pay the prices you see on eBay where it's like $300, $200. I didn't pay that, but the price I paid for this hurt a lot. Best cover too, probably. If I'm thinking correctly. Probably my favorite cover of the entire TV book series, and when I rank that, this will probably be number 1. We'll see though. Really great read. The episode is phenomenal. For a 20-minute long short, it's great as an episode. The original book, like I said, very good. The atmosphere on this one is so good. I couldn't possibly recommend this enough to you. If you haven't read it, if you can find it, then try to read it. But again, it's a hard one to get your hands on, dude. Especially when people buy like 4 and 5 copies. What's up with people? Why do you do that? If it happens by accident, then I have it. But it's like, some people, I don't get it. Like, I might have variations, like hardcovers and stuff, but still. Anyway, with that being said, that is the ranking video of the TV books. All 18 of them. They're done. Now I have to rank the covers, and of course that will be in the next video. Probably going to wait a couple of days to get that done. I don't know for sure. Of course, tomorrow I kind of want to take the day. It's Valentine's Day. I want to spend time with my beautiful wife and just, you know, enjoy that. And it's make that day about us, you know. But for now, that is pretty much my review for, or ranking for, these TV books. What did you think about it? What did you think would be your top 5 if you've read these? I think, again, a lot of you guys probably haven't read these because people just really don't care about them. They're hard to find. That's kind of annoying to people. Anyway, with that being said, what did you guys think? What do you agree? Do you disagree? What do you hate about my list? What do you think should have been my top 5 or bottom 5, something like that? I'd love to hear all that down below, too. Anyway, thank you guys for watching. God bless you all, and goodbye.